Hi, friends. Welcome back to the show. It's your girl, Jess Burgio. And today we're going to get a little real and raw on the show here today. I haven't done a off the cuff episode in quite a while. And I was just finishing up for the day. I'm at the salon space, otherwise known as Creative House SD here in San Diego. If you don't know, this is my creative playhouse. I do hair and makeup here still. We have photo shoots, we do events, and I really just obviously I do my podcast here. So I really have just created something really incredible and special. And some days you just have to remind yourself of the really amazing things you have in your life. It's not just like a gratitude practice, but it's just that moment maybe at the end of a long day where you look around and you're like, fuck yeah. Whether it's your home, whether it's your family, whether it's a moment to yourself in the car, whether it's after getting off stage doing something big, like we have those moments where we're just like, wow, like I didn't think I'd see the other side of all of that. And you're probably like, what is all of that, Jess? And that's what I'm going to get into with you guys today. I'm going to share with you guys what the last 6 months of my life has really looked like. So buckle up, get out on your walk, grab a fucking drink, get a coffee. I don't know, do what you got to do to keep up and carve out some time because this is going to be like reading my diary. I am going to be that open and transparent because I am all about teaching authenticity to build visibility in your business, and to build that know, like, and trust with somebody so intimately through a podcast is something I don't take for granted or lightly. I have sold more seats to my coaching, my masterminds, my events through this podcast because long form content really helps you connect the listener to you. And so it's just probably you and me right now, right? I'm talking to you guys like as a broad term, or you guys, there's no you guys, it's just me and you, but you know what I mean. So the show, if you didn't know, if you're new here, the show used to be called Unscripted. And that was my play on allowing myself to fully be myself. When I first started this podcast 6 years ago, it was called the Beauty Inspires Beauty podcast. And that very much was the energy of which I was still in. I was still a salon owner at the time. And I had started these brunches for beauty entrepreneurs to get together and network. And it was like the first of its kind in anywhere I knew. I knew we'd always had like shows and different things that we'd invested in, classes, etc., but nothing like that. And I knew that our industry needed something within itself. And so I started building that community. And as I merged more into the blended entrepreneurship world, really realizing that as a hairdresser, I wasn't any different than any other entrepreneur. I had a business acumen. I had business skill sets. I had people skill sets. I had a listening skill set. I had a taking action skill set. And though my craft, doing hair, was different than a lot of other entrepreneurs, there were so many things that we had in common. And that's when I started to speak to a broader audience on not only the podcast, but on my social media, when I went on other people's podcasts as a guest, when I had an opportunity to speak in person. And so I went from coaching within the industry to people outside of the industry. I started with guests in the industry on the podcast, and then I reached out to people that were a part of the industry and then past the industry, right? People who had been my mentors, people who had influenced me, people who I'd seen have any level of success that I wanted to ask questions. That's how it all started, right? And obviously the power and the pain of being closed during COVID gave me the push I needed because I had wanted to start this show for over 2 years at that point. And so I was the one holding myself back, claiming that I didn't have the time, claiming that I didn't have the money, didn't have the resources, didn't have the know-how, tech, this, all the things. And while a lot of it was true, I still use them as excuses. So you can use any excuse you want to not do something, and you can use any excuse you want to do something. You have that power of decision. And so I think that's kind of the reverse of this story is I decided that I needed to make a fucking decision around a handful of things in my life because they were starting to make decisions for me. If you've ever been there, you know what I mean. We're talking family, we're talking business partnerships, we're talking people that you invest in, mentors, environments, the fact that I have a long distance relationship still, even after I've gotten married, the fact that I have co-parenting navigation things that I got to deal with my son's dad and issues on that end with his girlfriend over the years. I mean, you name it, I've probably experienced it. And I'm not joking, all of it at once in the last 6 months. And this podcast episode just kind of came to me as like, you have to fucking keep it real. If you're going to teach keeping it real, girl, get your ass on the podcast and talk about it, because these are the kind of things that maybe don't go viral, but this is you getting to know me and to understand me as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as someone who still shows up and takes action even when I want to fucking jump off the bridge. And I'm not using that metaphorically. I mean, legit want to be like, peace, I'm done. And I'm not trying to get cryptic on this, but I also got to have a podcast guest on yesterday who was suicidal from a very young age and talks about the fact that you get to decide, and you get to decide if you want to change the neuroplasticity in your brain to be happy, to choose gratitude, to choose compassion. And really that has to start with you and the choices that you make and the things that you're dealt every single day. You get the choice to listen to that positive propaganda or the negative bullshit. It's your choice. You get to make a decision on the environment that you put yourself in, the people that you let either take advantage of you or, do or say whatever they're going to do. You can internalize that. You can turn it into some crazy ass bullshit where you spin the story in your mind a bazillion different ways and get really upset about something. That's all okay. I did all of that. And I'm still on the other side here to share a lot of those wins with you because I think in the pain and quite frankly, the suffering of some of it, I still persisted in the pursuit of my bigger purpose, which is to make an impact, to help women get out of their own way, to show up despite. It's not about just, surviving, as my friend Sarah Beaver says. It's about thriving, even if shit is hard. And that is where all of my daily rituals and practices come into play to keep me from literally going to find a bridge to jump off of. Because some days that fucking feels like the easy button. And maybe that's a trigger warning for some of you, and I apologize, but I can only speak my own truth on my show, and that's why I have my own platform, my own media. This is the kind of shit that people don't talk about. And while I love, 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 love teaching entrepreneurship and teaching you skills and values that you can turn around, get off the podcast and go take action on, it's also really relatable as I have been reading Emma Greed's book. If you don't know who she is, she has a podcast called Aspire. That's Aspire with Emma Greed. She is co-founder of Skims with Kim Kardashian, Good American, and a handful of other brands. If you don't know who she is, go follow her. You'll either love her or you hate her. She's very pointed in saying, what has to get done in order to build the big life of your dreams or your business, or to get radically honest with yourself that that's maybe not what you want. And I have been pushed up against the wall over the last 6 months many times questioning, is this what you want? Is this what you're willing to work through, work for? All of it. And I can think of, I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things, quote unquote things that have occurred or happened in the last pretty much 6 months that in and of themselves, just that one thing could and did set me back for either a couple weeks, a couple hours, a couple months. One of them on the list has been a thorn in my side for almost 5 years. Another one has been pursuing, or festering, I should say, for the last year. And then at the very bottom of the list, I added my own depression that I struggle with. And you might not think that someone like me has ever struggled with something like that. And I'm finally able to say it on this podcast because it's true. But what I've learned about myself is I'm not always depressed. And I heard this term today on a podcast, and I'm so grateful for the verbiage, is melancholy. Sometimes I'm a little bit like, wah, wah. And that's the projector side of me, I think, needing to recharge, needing to just be. And that can often look like me just sitting in silence. That can look like me needing to go be alone and read. That could look like me needing to go for a walk by myself. That could look like me not interacting with anybody or anything for a while. And you can be made to feel like something's wrong with you for doing that or for wanting that time alone. Or asking yourself well, if you want friends, you have to make the time to go hang out with them. If you want a better relationship with your partner, you need to focus on them more. If you want to be a better mom, you need to spend more time with your kids. And often that's the opposite of what you need. You have the answer to what it is that you need. I don't have the answer to what you need. But for me, through all of these things, there was me. And I had to sit with myself and process what happened, how I was going to handle it, and what I was going to do moving forward. And each and every time that I get hit with something, I think, what can I learn from this? What role did I play in this? And how can I make sure to not never put yourself in that situation again? Because I'm not going to be someone who's afraid to try things again. But how can you be more aware of what might happen? Right? I don't love the saying plan for the worst, hope for the best, but it's not really a terrible way to look at certain things. So I'm just going to start at the top of the list, the way it came out of my brain. I had a business partnership, and many of you follow me, and we had a company basically called the Entrepreneur Success Series where we hosted live events here in my space. And while it was built on trust and basically a handshake, this was somebody I'd met at an in-person event. People connected us. Oh, you both live in San Diego. You need to meet. We met for coffee. We met for lunch a few times, and it seemed like there was a good rapport there. And we both vocalized that we wanted to create community in San Diego. And when I happened to open my space downtown, I was like, oh, well, I have the space now. Why don't we start hosting some stuff here. And so after coffee and a yoga class, we came up with the concept, we came up with the name. And unfortunately for me, she grabbed the Instagram handle and I grabbed the domain. So I had the website domain and she had the Instagram. And I was the one who was in charge of posting everything on social media. I was the one who showed my face on social media. I was the one who promoted the event, even though this other person had their own set of things that they were responsible for and did. It wasn't equal to what I was doing, right? Marketing is always the thing that brings in business. You can be the best kept fucking event, secret, whatever, but no one knows about it unless you talk about it on social media or you run ads to it or you do something. So what do you think happened with the events? People started to dwindle when there wasn't stuff being posted. In the beginning, she was all in. And then she had a lot of shifts happen in her life, which shit happens, right? Shifts happen even. And I don't even think it was shit. It was just like a transition period for her. And I gave her tons of grace around it. We had put 6 on the calendar. We fulfilled those 6. And then we threw one more on top of it just for good measure to try something else out. We had been doing evening events. We tried a daytime event. All were great. And for me, like, to be spread thin when things aren't giving you a direct ROI other than just for show isn't really why I'm in business. I'm in business to make money. I'm in business to grow. I'm in business to, did I say make money? Yeah. So unapologetically, I don't have hobbies. I want to run businesses. I am someone who's very focused on the end goal, which is to build. And if I feel like something I'm doing is not building, I'm going to vocalize it and then I'm going to either move on or I'm going to, make it that way. But when you're in partnership with somebody, the sole decision's not up to you. So in this case, we kind of finished those 7 events and I said, hey, if you're interested in moving them into a mastermind, into a paid program of like a membership of some sort, let's do that. And she was like, I don't really know. I wasn't getting a yes, but I wasn't getting a no. So I was like, okay. So we just kind of deaded the conversation and a few months went by. We didn't really talk. And she reached out again in December and was like, hey, people have been asking about the events. I said, yeah, let's do a free one. So we did one in January. And I was very open again about like, let's make it free so a bunch of people show up. Well, said company did not help promote it. It did not get, many people showing up to it. And it just was proof that if you don't market something, nobody knows it exists, right? And if you just do things to do things and you don't have like a place to send people, they're not going to buy anything from you. And no one has ever gotten wealthy off of, selling things on Eventbrite for $40. You can't scale that. You can't do shit with that. So while I loved building community, it wasn't actually doing that. So when you looked at everything, we talked again, and I'm giving you guys the full behind the scenes because at this point, like when someone does you dirty, they don't deserve your respect anymore. And I hope she gets to hear this episode, but probably not. She probably can't be bothered. So we get together, we go on another walk, we talk out what the plan is for the February event. And we come to an idea where I say, hey, let's create like an in-person mastermind. Let's charge a little bit more for the ticket price. And we've got a couple really great speakers who are available. I think this will be really good. Again, no marketing, no promotion other than what I did. And at that point, I was just kind of checked out. I was like, and the universe, if you guys have never read, gosh, what's the book called? It's where you create like something physically to happen in your body. So that week of the event was supposed to be on a Thursday. Monday morning, I threw my back out at the gym. And it happens to be every once in a while, like probably every 5 years, I'll tweak my back doing something stupid, like not having the right form. So this happens to me the Monday before the event. And I'm like in so much pain. I'm laying on the couch and I just have this like come to Jesus moment. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything I don't want to do anymore. I'm in so much pain right now. Like it's going to take XYZ to get ready for the event this week. I got to shop for the food. I got to do this. I got to prep. And at this point I was like, how many tickets have we sold? And she was like 4. I'm like, so we're having 3 speakers, me and you, and 4 people at this event. Now, I understand that a lot of times when you're putting on new things, you only have a couple people and like you should still show up. But at this point, like that kind of just gave me the clarity. I'm like, great. Well, I'm hurt, so I can't do this week's event. I think it'd be better and more respectful for the people who are coming to teach if we reschedule this or plan for another time. So we cancel the event. That's that. We don't speak again. She doesn't reach out. I don't reach out. Nothing's said. And then out of the blue, just a couple weeks ago, I get a text from her saying that she is taking the Instagram and she is going to continue to host the events. Now, we built an email list from this. We built, obviously, a page from this with over 500 followers in the year plus that we were running it. So for someone to think they can just take something, this kind of shit happens in business all the time. All the time, people fuck people over. And it just shows you their character. So as like an intuitive human, I was already feeling something was off. Really from the beginning, I just thought it was like a cross of personalities that I just really wasn't connecting with her. And so I let that be what it was. I'm like, you don't have to be best friends with your business partners. That's fine. We can co-host things. It seemed like she was into it. I was able to do my part. And all that to say, you can still do the right thing. You can still do what feels good to you. You can still try to be respectful, and someone can still go and do some bullshit like that. Take an Instagram, think that it's theirs, not give you access to an email list because you didn't have a contract. You didn't have anything in writing. And it just, to me, shows somebody's character. And I'm like, fine. Like, you think this is the only thing I've built? Like, mind you, I have like 7 Instagram pages going and 6 other businesses running at the same time. So the irony that this phased me for, let's say, a couple of hours that day, I was like, this is going to make such a great story, so much better than if I continued even working with you. Because this is just proof, again, like I said, that you can do the right thing. You can be a good person. You can try to be the bigger person by just letting something like phase out, and you'll still see that side of somebody. And as women, like, that is like the epitome of what we all try to hashtag women supporting women. That's the exact opposite of it. And she's very connected with other local community builders, people in San Diego. And while I kind of thought about that for a second, I protected my peace. And I went through and I blocked every single person that I know that is associated with her. Because generally, as women, unfortunately, y'all be fucking stirring the pot sometimes with each other. You hear one bit of tea and you're like, fuck that bitch. Yeah, you should do that. You should do this. We don't even have each other's back. We don't even have each other's back when it comes to shit like this half the time. I've seen it time and time again. Now, I don't fucking have friends like that. I don't have friends that make me be like, yeah, you should go fuck somebody over. That's a great idea. You deserve to do that. Who knows what that conversation sounded like? Who knows if it was all of the friends or one friend? But regardless, I thought about it, processed it, and I was like, how are you going to protect yourself? How are you going to protect your peace? Start a new page, block everybody, and then let them fucking watch you succeed. That's all you can do. Bless and release. That is my motto. It has been my motto for years, because as you grow, as you succeed, other people will have a fucking problem with it. And guess what I was building behind the scenes while we were navigating these events? House of Influence, promoting, growing on social media, showing up like a motherfucker, my content going viral. I'd hate to use the word jealous. That's generally not where I go with my thought process, but show me different. You showed me exactly what I hate to see in people, because I never want to believe it's true. I never want to believe that it's fucking true. But when it happens, I'm like, damn. Okay, well, I'm learning this lesson. I'm going through this so that I can share about it. And that's why you have a fucking podcast. And that's why you're going to write another book, because the world of entrepreneurship, this happens in corporate. People step all over each other in corporate too. They'll throw somebody under the bus any day to get a promotion or to get looked at over somebody else. I used to work at a salon where the manager would go around. He would go around to us individually and say, if you had to fire somebody, who would it be? The fuck? If I had to fire somebody, who would it be? I'm like, nobody. I don't own this place. I don't run this place. You're just looking for me to talk shit about somebody. I'm never telling you anything, because you probably talk about me behind my back. Now, that's not just in the salon industry. I learned that early on. People want to say shit like hairdressers are catty or there's this or that. Now that I've been around the block and I've worked with literally everybody in every industry, I can say for a fact that it happens in every industry. I can say for a fact it happens worse for people in the same industry that are entrepreneurs. Copying each other's shit, talking bad about each other, not helping promote each other because they're like, oh, if I'm doing something similar that you're doing, I can't help you promote it. That mentality will keep you so small and so stuck, you will suffer in your own fucking delusional bullshit for so long. So that came to mind first and foremost as a story to share with you guys. Building resilience through bitch slaps like that is a true test to like, how bad do you want it? This is the version of it's lonely at the top. Because when someone does something like that to you without any explanation, without any like approach to having a conversation first, little did she know, I would have been more than happy to be like, oh my God, go for it. Bless. So happy for you. Let me know when the next event is. I'll come support you. Like, that's how much like I wanted the vision for what we created to succeed. I just didn't want to run a nonprofit. So that would have been fine with me. I would have more than supported that even, but she didn't even give me a chance. So that's where I lean to the other side of like, you really felt some type of way about how I was growing and what I was doing, that you wanted to like be a bitch. So that's on you. Second thing that I want to dig into is an experience that I had last October, September really, but it had started months earlier with a online mentor that I had watched create an experience, a VIP experience, as she so claimed, on branding. And many of you watched this transformation of my branding. And while those photos came out of that, they were not from her vision. They were from the photographer that she hired. So the photographer that took these photos gets all the credit. I styled myself. I did pretty much everything. They did have a makeup artist there who did a great job, which I didn't need because I could do my own hair and makeup, but that was part of the package. And I was promised a good amount of content, photos, and video that was terrible, not edited well, and shot on an iPhone from her assistant. So what I was told I was paying for, I did not get. And when I voiced my concerns about being unhappy for this very large investment that I made, I was told that they weren't done yet, that they weren't edited yet. I still, to this day, have never got my social content, never got the B-roll that I was supposed to get for the whole day while they paid somebody to be there. I never got it. And I think I got about 25 edited pictures. And if you want to know how much I actually spent on this, just DM me, I'll tell you. And I'll tell you who it is, because this predator should not be out there. And once I reached out to one of my friends and shared what had happened, she said, I've been hearing things about her. So that just confirmed that it wasn't an only me issue. This was a thing that they were doing to people. And it's interesting because San Diego is so small, and, you know, really like the West Coast LA side is super small. And as soon as I voiced my frustrations online, you know, somebody heard what I had to say, and they had a mutual friend that had actually had the same experience with this person. And so she connected us, and we've actually become really good friends. And what's interesting is when you, I think, experience something similar, you feel less alone. So it kind of took the charge away, knowing that this had been done to other people. I didn't feel so, you know, I guess attacked or like I didn't matter, but it still didn't make it okay. And that's where I started to vocalize that. And I could have went dark, and I did go dark for a little bit. That situation took me out. For one, I felt guilty about what I spent, and I didn't realize that I wasn't going to get it all because I was promised it was in contract. And then two, sometimes you feel stupid. Like, was that my mistake? Did I miss? Should I have spoke up? Should I have said, you know, why are we doing it like this? I just think sometimes we don't realize what's happening in the moment until later when you reflect back on it. And I did the right thing. I said that I was unhappy. I shared my experience, and they did nothing to try to make it right. And I'd say all that to tell you, like, it just really is a true definition of knowing the experience that I want clients to have when they work with me has always been VIP, luxury. I make my clients feel very seen, very heard. It's just like who I am. It's the ethos of like my brand, my soul, everything. And so to be treated differently is just wild. Like, we know that people aren't going to be who we are, but at the same time, if they're presenting like they are, you kind of take that for face value. So know that I've gotten sold some bullshit too. The next thing on the list was an event that I went to that I was promised an opportunity to be on someone's podcast. And last minute, they decided that I didn't have the ideas ready to go for the podcast, and so that we should postpone it. And they've now postponed it 6 months. They reached out once, and it wasn't a good time for me. And then I've never heard from them again. So again, paying for something and not getting what you paid for, even though it was vocalized and verbalized, I didn't have that in contract either. But also I'm someone who's like, if you don't see the value in bringing me in, if you feel some type of way about who I am or whatever, then I don't want to be in your presence. I don't want to be on your podcast. But that was a moment where I could have told myself multiple stories. And I have. I've told myself many stories. I've talked about it with friends. I've shared about it because I fucking can. It's my experience. But also in all of this, have you noticed? I haven't named anybody. I haven't gone on social and said anything. I've talked privately about this with my friends, my family, processed it on my own. But I'm still not the type of bitch that's going to fucking call someone out on my own podcast. If you know, then you know. If you know who I fucked with before, then you might put two and two together. If you've been around, if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of Jess. And that's fine. Like, I'm fine with everybody knowing what's going on. I have nothing to hide. And all of these things are just unfortunate incidents that happen when you play this game called entrepreneurship and life. You take fucking risks. You get in bed with people. You pay money to have mentorship that doesn't come through. You get in rooms that don't give you or deliver what they say they're going to. It happens. But other things, have been a massive win. From that experience, I have acquired, a handful of clients who are now in my mastermind. And that is such a beautiful win on the backside of something that didn't actually present in the beginning as a win. So that's where, I keep showing up. I keep putting myself in situations. I keep paying to play because I know that just like when you're an investor and you invest in 10 companies, not all 10 are going to hit. Maybe 1 out of 10 is going to hit. Maybe 1.5. And so that's how I look at life. And I'm so grateful that I've had mentors who talk about life like that, who've talked about things that they've invested in and haven't worked out for them, partnerships that have failed, friendships that have flopped. It's all happened to everybody that I know. And I'm so grateful that they've gotten on and gotten real, either on a podcast like this or on a phone call or in a room and shared the shit that they had experienced so that when it finally, unfortunately, happened to me too, I could be like, I remember so-and-so went through this. I remember that this isn't a singular issue. This wasn't just a me thing. This shit happens. So I hope that this lands for you too. I hope that these things don't happen to you, but be prepared. Have contracts. They say contracts keep friends. I have a friend who recently had a fucking contract and still didn't get paid out or treated the way she was supposed to. And it was written in a contract. So at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to how do you handle situations and how are you going to let life affect you? The next thing on my list is I got married in December. So through all of these things, navigating life, I had to plan a wedding. I'll rephrase that. I got to plan a wedding. And it was the most incredible couple of days. We had the best ceremony. But guess what happened the second I got to Cabo for my wedding? I got sick because my body finally relaxed and didn't have to plan anything anymore and was able to just come crashing down. So I was so sick during my wedding and didn't feel good. I pretty much lost my voice, but luckily, adrenaline can pull it together with a little tequila and pulled it off. Pictures came out great. We had a beautiful time and I obviously regret none of it. And I'm so grateful for my husband for just holding space and letting me go to bed early every night. But that also leads me into the next thing that I've had to navigate over the last 5 years, which is a long distance relationship. It's been one of the most beautiful tests, I think, for both of us, is working through not always getting what you want, having that person there for you. My husband always says, it's not the hard days that I miss you the most. It's the days where I have the wins, where you're not home to celebrate and share with me. And I fucking get that. Because when things are kind of hard, I go quiet. I like to be alone. I'll process independently. And he kind of does the same. Maybe we'll share on a phone call and connect over it. But we really try not to bring negative energy into the relationship, but sometimes you just gotta talk shit about a bitch. You know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that we were still able to pull the wedding together and have a wonderful time despite navigating a lot of shit during the 5 years we've been together. We've had to navigate. My son's dad has chosen a partner who hasn't always been super easy to get along with, for lack of a better term. And unfortunately, that's caused a huge rift in the relationship I have with my son's dad. And then it's also made my husband uncomfortable because he's like, well, why is she uncomfortable? Is something going on? It's such an interesting situation to navigate somebody else's insecurity because you're like, I don't know what the problem is. And I don't know what else I could do besides not be alive for you to not have a fucking problem. At the end of the day, sometimes you just have to realize someone's going to have a problem. I have known people that they don't know how to just have no chaos in their life. They are uncomfortable without there being something to be frustrated, upset, or angry about. And this person was like that for many years. And it's subsided a little bit. And we actually had a come to Jesus moment where I got an apology after several years. And while that's great, and I'm grateful for that and happy that there's potential for us to all quote unquote get along, it's still such a weird dynamic and something that we've had to navigate to the point where they had a restraining order against each other for a year. That was probably about 2 years ago. When the person that you co-created a human with is choosing to partner with somebody that you have a fucking restraining order and they still continue to see each other, I was like, I have to question if you're fit to be a person that my son should be around. And how did we get here? How is this my life? all while navigating still running a business, continuing with my partnership, being a good mom, hosting this podcast, keeping my shit together. Like, that's a lot of stuff to navigate. Any of these situations have their own, like, lane of fuckery that could have taken me out and had me, like, take my kid, leave fucking San Diego, move to Arizona where my husband lives. But I made a pact with myself that my son would get to have both his parents anytime he wanted. And that was a deal that I made with my son's father as well. But it felt like he was doing everything he could to get me to, like, pull back and change that deal. But I realized that deal wasn't for him. That deal was for our son. And so that's what we do as women sometimes, as mothers. We choose somebody else's peace over our own. And this podcast episode is me choosing to be honest with you guys about what really goes on and what you have to navigate on the other side of maybe success or growth or being in the public eye or trying to do something. You know, shit can happen. About a year ago, my son had a terrible e-bike accident and shattered his ankle, and he had to have emergency surgery. And while they did their best to put the ankle back together, he missed the last 2 months of 7th grade and was really fucked up. And during that time, obviously my son's dad and I had to, like, start communicating again and taking care of him. And it took a huge toll on my work. It took a huge toll on my relationship with my now husband. And as soon as he got better, a couple months later, post summer, the first week of 8th grade, yeah, we let him back on the bike. He did something on the bike again, and just his leg wasn't strong enough, and he broke his leg again in a different spot, same leg, and had to be put in a cast again for another, like, 6 to 8 weeks. And so it was just like hit after hit after hit. And we navigated that. We got through that. And then we were told from the doctor that he was going to have another surgery to close the growth plate in that ankle. And actually, in fact, that he'd have to have surgery on both ankles and should do it at the same time. So now we are here a year later, almost the exact same time. He just underwent surgery 2 weeks ago where they drilled both ankles in an attempt to close the growth plate. So my son right now is laid up in bed with 2 boots on, having to relearn how to walk. He's missing out on the last 6 weeks of 8th grade. He's missing out on his 8th grade trip. He's not getting to finish school. You know, we were able to do some school from home and finish stuff. But it once again pushed me and my son's dad together to have to co-parent and figure this out, which then puts stress on my marriage, puts stress on his relationship, puts stress on our careers and what we're doing. And it's like, just when you start to get some momentum, boom. Just when you start to get some boom. And it's like, how quick can you get back up and navigate the hard shit? How can you still show up through all of it? You know, and I think all of that to share. On top of it, I have personal stuff with my family going on. My 2 brothers suffer from different addictions and are not doing well right now. And that is something that I feel like I want to go control. Those are my brothers. Like, there's nobody closer to me than my siblings, obviously my son now. But when your family is, like, suffering, like, I want to literally yank them by their ears and drag them both into rehab and to take care of them and to nurture them. And I'm watching my mom have to be the person to do this and navigate all this. And I want to help her. I want to yell at her not to help them. I want to show up every day and help her. Like, there's 2 sides, right? Where you're like, stop enabling. And then you're like, yes, go do anything you can to help them. And so I share all that deep, deep shit and all of those intimate things with you because nobody's life is perfect. Nobody has it all together. Nobody is without struggle. Nobody is without limiting beliefs. Nobody is without imposter syndrome on some level. Nobody is without some sort of roadblock, fuckery, like, challenge. I promise you. They are not. Nobody I know is like, oh my God, everything's so easy and life's so great and I don't have to navigate shit. Well, except for one of my friends. But she's navigated a lot of shit in her time. She's now at a place where there's a little less shit to navigate. So it seems like she's, like, hit the easy path. But I guarantee if I dug in with her, she would share, I still navigate this, this, and this, right? But I share all that again to just now recap, like, the podcast kept going. I did take a few weeks off when that shit happened with that experience last year with the branding. I questioned my worth. I questioned my vision for the brand that we had fucking created together and built. I was like, this is actually not aligned. I don't like any of it. You pushed me in a direction that, like, I didn't actually love, but I went with it because I thought you were the expert. So outsourcing my own knowingness, which I will never fucking do again, right? I still was guessing on other people's podcasts, seeing clients in person, coaching my one-on-one clients, being a wife, being a friend, being a mother, and also putting together this fucking incredible mastermind that just kicked off a couple weeks ago called the House of Influence. Because I know how important it is to not run and hide. I know how important it is to face your own life and to share that. That is what people want to see right now on social media. Now, I would never go on social media and talk for 37 minutes like I just have openly like this. But if you are a fan of the podcast, you listen to the show, you deserve all sides of me. You deserve to hear the real stories. And if you're still listening to this episode, like, you are probably having your tea right now and being like, God damn, because I don't always share stuff like this. I love to just like deal with my shit and still give value, be supportive, and like be the mentor and coach that I know that I'm here to be. That is my soul's calling. But we still are humans having a human experience. And so what gets me through that and the way that I'm still able to show up is I make sure that I am taking care of my health, whether that's working out, continuing to go to yoga every single week, working, whatever that looks like, building behind the scenes, working on my emails that go out every week, working on my content, working on being a better person for my clients that I see in person, right? Letting go of the things that I can't control. I think having compassion, first and foremost for myself, and secondly for everybody else who's going through their own shit. Nobody, and I fucking mean nobody, who does nasty shit to you or to themselves or to other people is okay. They're not. Hurt people hurt people. It is a fucking fact, and I wish it wasn't true, but it is. People who are not comfortable with who they are and who have insecurities about anything will lash out, do some dumb shit, and you just might be the victim of that. And so in order to have compassion for them, I first have to forgive them for doing what they do. And that is the only way that I can move through and have a peaceful life and be happy through all of this, right? And still feel ambitious and still want to go after things, even though I've been kicked while I'm down or some shit has happened and or went sideways, right? I choose to listen to positive propaganda, podcasts that are going to uplift me, read books that are going to make me feel good about people and humanity, right? Choosing to meditate when it's hard. And for me, that's movie meditation. I go on walks with myself. I do active meditation all the time. And I rarely do, traditional meditation where you're trying to have no thoughts and quiet the mind. Because where there's no thought, there's no problem. Rob Mack said that on my podcast. I think that was last week. Where there's no thought, there's no problem. So if you are entertaining thoughts that are not serving you, you're creating problems in your head that probably have either passed or are something you can't control. And you're just looping it and reliving it and torturing yourself, And I share, again, all of this because I could choose to go the other way. I could choose to get really nasty and dark and start treating other people the way I'm being treated and think that, this is just how it is. But I choose the opposite. I stay around people who are ambitious and who don't let shit like this get them down. And all you can do is to continue to show up and share your story because your story matters. Storytelling is the biggest form of connection. It is the way that people can get to know you. When you become good at storytelling, when you become good at connecting with people, everything else will become easier. When you own your truth, when you're okay being who you are and sharing your experiences that could potentially not make any fucking sense to you in the moment, not a goddamn bit of sense. You're like, why did I have to experience that? Why did that have to happen? Why did that person do that? Why? Who fucking cares why? At the end of the day, what are you going to do? You're going to fucking get back up tomorrow morning. You're going to make yourself the best cup of coffee or tea or whatever pre-morning ritual you like. And you're going to put a fucking smile on your face and you're going to go live your best goddamn life. You're going to go do the things you're here to fucking do because tomorrow is not promised. And if you keep waiting to chase your dreams, you're going to be fucking waiting forever. And if you wait for someone to give you the power, the accolades, the invitation, the green light, you're going to be waiting forever. So you got to pick yourself up and you got to figure out the way on your own. Now, you can figure out the way on your own in group containers like the House of Influence. And I guarantee all my girls are going to listen to this podcast episode and be like, damn, Gina. Yeah. I literally have, I have probably 7 more stories over the last year of things that I was like, did that really fucking happen? Because when you get to a certain level of success in business, things do start to become transactional. And when people don't get what they want, they show their true colors. I have less friends than I've ever had in my life. I have less coworkers, if you will, less peers. And that's probably for a reason. Your light will either show somebody else the way or it will make them go the other way, right? I am super religious when it comes to, I was raised Catholic and I am very strong with my spirituality. I'm like, it's just the enemy. The enemy testing my faith, testing my loyalty. I know who's got me. And if I just stay true to who I am and what I'm here to do, and I keep my side of the street clean, then I'm good. And I can go to sleep at night. And I know that I can get up and speak my truth on my own podcast and not give a fuck what anybody else thinks or says. And I hope you take that energy and that power and you harness it and use it for yourself. And if there's a story that you've been hiding because of shame or guilt or anger, tell that story. Come on my podcast and talk about it. Do a live tomorrow. Make a piece of content out of it. It's okay to be polarizing. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not only show the happy side of things or the rainbows and sunshine. In fact, people need this more than ever. They need to feel connected to the shit that everybody else goes through, and let people hold space for you. Let people be supportive for you. I have some really amazing friends who it was probably 3 or 4 months before I even shared some of the stuff with them because I didn't want to dump it on them and I was still kind of processing it. But to be able to talk about it with people who really want to see you win, that's a different type of friendship. That is a different level, and that is rare. And it takes energy to cultivate that. It's like finding a soulmate, you know, like in a relationship, like a partnership, like a marriage. You have, I think, a few people on this planet that are meant to be your soulmates as friends as well. And I'm so lucky to have a couple of those, like so lucky that no matter what, I can fucking say whatever I need to, complain about whatever, brag about whatever, and they're going to high five me or they're going to listen to my shit. So I hope you have those people too. And sometimes, just sometimes, you can meet them in amazing rooms. And that's why we have put up a wait list for the next round of House of Influence already. If you have not seen that, or if you missed getting into this round that just kicked off last month, then I strongly encourage you to check out House of Influence at jessicaburgio.com. You can click the link below in the show notes to put yourself on the wait list and fill out the application. We can have an alignment call and see if it's a good fit for you. This is really a space for connection, accountability, and for women who want to be able to lock arms with other women, talk about their business, talk about their life, talk about who they are, and have that relentless support of people who are growing also, that have had struggles, that have had experiences, that have had pivots, that have had grief, that have had loss, but are still showing up. Ooh, this felt so good to do a riff episode. You guys, if you haven't started your podcast yet and you want to start a podcast, I don't know what you're waiting for. This is also something I coach on the side, as well as helping people start their damn podcast. It is something I am super passionate about. It is the biggest relationship builder, networking, content driver that I've ever seen. And now more than ever, with all of the tools, you can edit your show super easily. You can record on platforms like I'm on right now, like Riverside. I'm just on my computer. I've got 2 ring lights. I've got a microphone right in front of me, the Shure MV7 I got off Amazon. And it's really low lift to produce these episodes. Do you need to be consistent? Yes. Could you batch all 4 episodes that you put out for the month at one sitting? Yes. Is this a place where you can deeply connect with people? Yes. So if you think that you're not somebody who deserves to have a podcast or enough things to talk about, trust me, if you're over the age of 10, you've lived a life or 3 and you got shit to talk about that can help other people. So that's my push to start putting your content out there, to live your life unfiltered, out loud, and fucking unapologetic. All right, that's it. Your girl's got to go. I feel better. Send me the bill for my therapy session, y'all. And I'll see you next week on the Jessica Burgio Show.